So my name's Mike DeChecco. Thanks for coming here today. They were predicting rain at first. It looks like it's holding off, which is wonderful. Had a good turnout today too. We normally start off our meetings by asking if we have any new members today. We'll start with the room first. Anybody news?
New, like never been to a meeting before.
Yes.
Yes. Jeffrey Craig.
Jeff, how about you stand up and tell us a bit about yourself?
Was a piano tuner, then became a standards developer and had these machines for 50 years and
Wow.
need to find homes for them. You live in Prince Edward County.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it. You live in Kingston?
Prince Edward County.
Great. So you had a bit of a drive.
I did, yes. And I plan to come back next month with some more machines.
Awesome, thank you. And there's some very interesting machines you brought in. Thank you. See them in the auction. Anybody else new in the room? I don't think so. Okay, anybody new on Zoom? You could, speak up. No. Bill knows. Okay, thanks, Bill. Saves me time. Bill knows everything. Does. Wealth of knowledge. Any announcements that anybody would like to make? In the room?
Well, it's nice to have us all back again, that's what I'm saying.
Nice to have what back, sorry?
Us all back together for another meeting.
Oh, yes, yes.
Fun.
I always
Fun day.
Yes.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, one thing I might mention,
Sure.
I'd like to thank whoever had me as the author of an article in the news. I think I know who it is.
Yeah.
But I realized, I looked at it and said, byline was written by me. I didn't write the goddamn thing.
You're very welcome.
There you are. I thought it was you.
I think it's Steve's fault.
No, it's not my fault.
There we are.
Well, let's not dwell on that.
Yeah. It was about that dog, the Nipper dog record. That dog follows me around doggedly, if you will.
I thought you researched it so well.
I thought I did too, apparently not.
So did I, that was a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's hear it for John.
Yeah.
There we go.
So maybe we can encourage him to write more fine articles like.
Yes, plagiarism is fun. Yeah.
Okay, that works. Does anybody online want to make an announcement?
Yes, I'd like to make one. If anybody's close to the West Coast or anticipating coming out here, there's a meeting here on Vancouver Island on May the 25th of OTAPS, which is the Oregon and Territories Antique Phonograph Society. And there's a bunch of collectors coming up from Washington State and Oregon and who knows where else. So if you wanted to plan a weekend up here, you might enjoy it.
That's great. Is it something you can put in the chat notes, or it'd be nice to get it out to everyone so that they have it enticed and they can save the information?
Or better. On
Yes,
the
I'd be
Facebook
happy to
page.
do that. I won't provide the link, but you can easily find it by Googling it.
Okay. And is this something that maybe you could give us a report on at some point in the future?
Well,
How much?
I think they have a newsletter that comes out, and if there is such a thing, I'd be happy to forward that.
Fabulous, thank you.
What about starting something in Victoria? The caps.
I don't know if you heard the comments, we've always looked at having like little subgroups throughout the country. And how about say starting something, an offshoot of CAPS in Victoria for the local members? That's something you might consider?
That's certainly something that could be brought up at the meeting on May the 25th, because that's where you'll see some of the collectors at. Yeah, so
Great.
we could broach that.
Fabulous, thank you. Any other announcements by anyone? No, okay. I've got a couple of announcements to make. The first is in terms of for the people in this room that we're in. Bill has been working with the college a lot. They're changing things almost constantly as to which room we're going to be assigned to. And so like we're in a different room today. And the problem is some of the rooms are being converted to labs and others are being used for convocations. And so it's going to affect our June meeting. And so as it is now, we're going for the June meeting only. We're going to be back in the original room that we were in on the second floor, which is E2-12, right near the elevators. And last I heard, the elevators are working, so that's a good sign. And the problem with the elevators was the main reason we ended up downstairs, and it was closer and more convenient anyway. So for June, we'll be upstairs, and after that, we're not sure, I guess we'll stay tuned, right, Bill?
Right.
Okay. I covered it?
Yeah.
Good enough? Great, okay. So we don't like switching back and forth to rooms, but we're at the mercy of the color. What else we got coming up? Next meeting in June is I guess it's like the 3-year anniversary of our executive, and we do our elections then. And there's various positions available. They're all, each position is listed in the newsletter on page 2. Things such as like president, vice president, and program convener, and all those things. So take a look at that. If anyone is interested in any of the positions, please approach myself or anyone else on the executive. And we'd like to hear from you by May 15th. And we do have to fill the positions to keep CAPS going. So my email information is always there. I'd love to hear from anyone interested. And there's always positions in the club. We have people helping out with various things. Even if it's just moving items around with the auction or the introduction note, we all little things we could always use help with. So we appreciate anyone coming forward who could assist CAPS with our elections. That's amazing. Brian, you wanted to mention something about name tags?
Yes. Okay, so name tags are in. I handed out to pretty much everybody that I know names, and unfortunately, there's still people I don't know names. So if you did.
That's why they bought a tag.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have a tag, so I don't know who they
Right.
are. So if you did pay or signed up and didn't pay, see me in the break, the ones for the one that signed up. And if you haven't signed up for one yet, let me know, and I can certainly order more. The price was $11.50 before with the setup fee included in that. Where now they don't need a setup fee, it's basically $12. So $12 if anybody wants to add a name tag now. They're basically one at a time kind of thing now with a batch. So.
But they're really nice. Thank you. Good job. Yes.
So, yeah.
Brian, thank you very much for setting that up. I looked around and see name tags in the room, so that's a good sign. And another segment we normally do is I'm looking for that thing, which could involve someone looking for parts, phonographs, records, or anything like that. Is there anybody, it'll start within the room, is there anyone in the room who's looking for a part or anything particular? Tyler.
So, so recently I got or should I say about a year ago, I got a Recordio, record, lathe. And I am looking for a new, recording cartridge, very static brand, and I want one that works. Because the two that I tried before, they were completely dead.
Is this for cutting a disc record?
Yeah,
Okay, I think I know the type you're talking about. Do you have, so, in case you couldn't hear me couldn't hear Tyler online, he's looking for, is it a cutting lathe that goes on a home recording machine?
no, it's the, cartridge.
The cartridge itself?
Yeah, the cartridge itself, the head for the cutting blade. It's for a Wilcox Gay, Recordio.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of those.
I know that's gonna be a very difficult part to find. I know through my dealings in repairs for jukeboxes, there's a company, they used to be in Florida, I'm not sure where they are now. It's called West Tech.
Yeah, I've heard of
And,
them.
and they rebuild cartridges, like all kinds of vintage cartridges. You might try there. Otherwise, I don't, does anybody else have any information that can help them? Probably not.
Yeah, I know it's a niche thing.
Yes, it is. And it's gonna be probably costly, but you might want to try. A friend of mine was looking for a very specific unusual cartridge, and I went in there and he was very helpful. And apparently they could rebuild his cartridge, so I would imagine they could rebuild what you've got too. So I think it's called West Tech.
Yeah,
You've heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Try them
I have to check, see if they, because I heard a guy who builds the recording ones as a tire.
Okay,
I'll check, see if I'll check.
I know from my own experience, the old crystal cartridges apparently just with age and humidity, that they all die. So this company has set up sort of like a niche market of rebuilding them. I'm sure they're not cheap, but it's really the only option.
Okay,
So I hope that.
I'll check them out, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any part that they're looking for, or record, or? You're looking for a microphone.
Yeah.
Got one there, which we'll get to later.
Good job, Ed.
Not many there. Anybody online looking for any parts or anything specific?
Well, as always, I'm looking for US Everlasting and Lakeside cylinders. Ed has been a wondrous source for that.
Who was that?
This is David.
Can you identify yourself?
David,
It's David Hanser.
Oh, David. So are you looking for the information or you have information to share?
neither. I'm looking for the cylinders.
Oh, that you want cylinders, okay.
He should contact me.
Doesn't sound like good.
I got like 1,000 of them.
Well, we found a source for you. Mark, why don't you tell them?
Yeah, it's Mark Caruana. I'll send in the chat my email. Just email me.
Okay, I'll do that. By the way, is Ed there today?
And Mark just says he's got about 50,000 of them. So I think he's.
I don't think they made that many.
Huh, well, maybe only 40,000. Okay, so Mark and David, you'll contact each other? And I'm
Yeah.
sure Mark would gladly look after you.
Yeah, there's.
Just send a shipping container. Okay, so with that done, I'd like to introduce our guests. We've got Don Colville and Sasha Goldman. I talked to them a couple months ago about 3D printing because Don especially is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to computers and making parts for really obscure things, like maybe you've got a steam engine that needs a part that hasn't been made since 1903 or something like that. And Don,
cool.
well, that's easy, you could just 3D print it. I bet you our members don't know about 3D printing, and I say with myself, I know very little about it, really only from what I've learned talking to Don and talking to Sasha. And so they both kindly agreed to come in and talk about 3D printing and how it might help us with our hobby if we're looking for a specific part, because we know a lot of the parts on machines are not reproduced anymore, and probably they usually have the same problem. One thing that comes to mind with me is the Stewart phonograph, the little tin phonographs. They always break on the elbow for the reproducer, always break. And I'm not putting words in your mouth. Maybe that's something that could be 3D printed. It's just gives you an example, or a fiber gears, something like that. So Don and Sasha have put together some videos of the topic, and I'm sure they'd be very happy to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. But I think we're all going to learn something very interesting about this new technology that could help us with our love of old gramophones and photographs. So I introduce Sasha Goldman and Don Goldman. Are you going to be up here, Don?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with me.
I'll start with a little intro.
Okay, let me know when you want it.
Mark, you always want me to record.
Yeah, we're recording. Thank you.
Right.
So I got into 3D printing in high school. When I first got into high school, they had a few printers there, and I kind of forwarded the interest onto Don, and he's picked it up after me. When did you get started?
10 years ago, something like that. Yeah, with me, I was actually making a steam engine boiler, and I needed a specific torch. So I went to Praxair, and it was going to be 3 weeks or 4 weeks before this torch head came in. So I can't be idle for 4 weeks. And I knew about 3D printing, but not much. And I thought, oh, that'll be a fun thing to do. And I just thought, I'll get a bunch of components, put one together, figure out how these things work, then donate it to the high school where Sasha went. Well, after building my first one, I was totally hooked, totally. It's amazing technology and limitless technology. It changes every single day at an alarming pace. Like, I mean, you could not possibly keep up with everything. So yeah, it just became a total passion. Plus it's useful, which you'll see from the video.
Okay.
Okay. We should get that for you.
There's audio in the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
The young man's shoulder is blocking the screen.
Not so.
Okay, hold on, Brian.
Don't you sit down.
And please center the camera more on the screen.
No, we're sharing. it.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Pointer.
First, we're gonna need a CAD program. CAD stands for Computer Assisted Design. For this, we're gonna be using Tinkercad. It's available online. Start by selecting a circle shape, and we can edit the width and length to accommodate a 45 RPM record. We can then grab another circle shape, this one being a whole material, change the length and width for a regular spindle size. Next, we can align both shapes to be centered with each other and group them, which cuts the whole material away. Finally, we can change the height, and we have a 45 RPM adapter.
Wow. Oh my God.
Once this is
I've
done,
always,
we can
I've always worried about the programs, the CAD programs.
and open it in a slicer. This is a program that will convert a 3D object into instructions for the printer. These instructions are saved as a G-code file and put on a USB, and it's off the printer. As you can see, we have a large array of filaments as well as 3D printers. This project, we're going to be using this printer. We'll insert the USB, select the file, and it will start printing.
Good thinking, Mike.
I needed an aluminum diaphragm for one of my phonographs that I was getting it back to running. I couldn't find what I wanted, so of course that just means that you make it. And I made these 3D printed press molds so that I could make the diaphragms. Now, originally, I couldn't find any aluminum shim stock in the right thickness I needed. There's lots of brass, lots of copper shim stock. Thankfully, these hot pie pans are exactly the right thickness and the right size. So, cutting out the bottom, I lay it into whichever style of mold I wish. So, of course, these are all different depending on the pattern and the size. So, aluminum goes in, the press goes on to hold it, and then it is screwed down. You can use ball tools like these, or honestly, a good old-fashioned popsicle stick works just fine. So you just start by pressing in the aluminum. Remember that aluminum will work hard, so you kind of want to do one piece at a time. So I'm going to do the center. And it's easy, you can feel when you down to the base of the press bowl. Then, of course, there's other details in here, which your popsicle stick or a ball tool will just find for you. And you just keep going around. And as you can see, it is very fast and very easy. And I have several of these on the go, and they sound terrific. And like I say, just keep going around, stretching the aluminum into the pattern you want. And there's another line coming in here. Got a bit to know the pattern a little bit before. You can actually push right through the aluminum, but as you can see, you can get very intricate patterns and different depths. The sky's the limit, and you just make a new mold every time you want something else in a different depth, like that's a 4 mil. This is a 6 mil. A 5 mil with a question mark, I guess. I wasn't quite sure. And that's it. Easy way to make aluminum diaphragms. These are different reproducers that I have 3D printed, with the exception of this one that has the aluminum orthophonic diaphragm. All of these have 3D printed diaphragms. So I was playing around with the thickness and what materials to use. Some plastics are more rigid than others, but they were all very successful. I don't know how well you hear this, but
Yeah.
it definitely does work. And I played these, and they played really quite well. And like I say, this is the only exception. This has been all 3D printed, but in this one, I did put the aluminum diaphragm.
So this is a 3D printed cylinder case maker. It uses packing tape and flip it into one of these slips, right, hold it there. And then when you turn it on, it rolls it, and you can see from the red marker how many times you rolled it. And it's done. Get it off. The handle off. And it comes off. If it's glued, it will be one of these.
Wow.
These are a few of the cylinder cases we've already made. And this is our original cover design, completely uninspired by anything else. And it's copywritten and patented, and it's the best one to hold cylinders.
Are you selling those tools?
So what are you supposed to do when your cylinders don't fit on the mandrel properly? Well, you could buy a reamer for however much it goes for, or we printed our own cylinder reamer. It has slight grooves along 4 sides. And we were originally gonna put sandpaper in there, but upon first use, we've noticed it just works fine with those grooves. Leave it out. Here it comes out and sit on the mandrel.
Are you selling either of those tools?
We'll answer at the end.
Thank you.
Sure.
When I got this photograph, there were a bunch of pieces either missing or made improperly, etc. So first of all these rubbers were gone, so this is just reprinted in flexible filaments. On on the reproducer. This piece, somebody had made in brass, not very well, and taken a nail and just banged it through. So I reprinted a proper piece that has the groove for the set screw as well as the pin to hold it on. Also, even though the gasket was okay, the problem was the diaphragm that I could get was too small and the gasket really didn't hold it. But no problem, I just 3D printed a new gasket slightly wider and this now works perfectly. That works perfectly, just doesn't close.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay.
No,
Oh, it's not done?
It's good. No,
Oh, okay, hold
that's
on.
part of it.
Okay, let me just get back to sharing here.
Yeah.
Phonographs, everybody's got that record.
Yeah. Including Chuck Mangione.
Oh, I like to.
Yeah. I hope so. Now, give them all.
You want to lean on first recordings. Wait, we should first made records with Cripple Sam. At least that's what I understood. I did meet her, I told him. Oh, yeah. I got some autograph records. 20 years ago, I guess, yeah. Yeah, she was still performing. And, what's the old O'Keefe Center, know what they call it?
You remember when they built the building that comes out the back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not very long now.
But that's where it was.
Oh,
No. Good Lord. Oh my gracious.
Oh.
Oh my God, Don.
I've not been able to hear anything so far.
We'll hear one this time.
Yeah. That guy is from the sea.
Is it a long one?
Just room, so it's a free building. Oh, beautiful sound.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we're not getting anything on Zoom.
Do you have the background cancel one?
Yeah. Hold on, do you want me to do it now? I'm trying. Give me, if you guys can hang on a second. They're canceling something?
By the way, we can hear you just fine.
Here, you just.
Oh,
So it's the same guy.
It is.
It's the same guy, I think it was interrupting people last. Trying to do the auction.
yeah, maybe that's,
Yeah, take the noise
No,
removal
instead
off.
of the speaker, do you need the top box, you have a choice there?
no, that's for the room speaker.
Mark, I could hear it just fine.
Okay, I put it on low faint background noises, does that seem like the best setting? Cause it's not allowing me to turn off the background noise
Yeah.
removal. And, yeah, okay, so let's just see what happens.
It's not sure.
Yeah, it's not shared.
Usual harm.
Oh, here we are.
That one's 3D printed. The one's 3D printed.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. So how long? That's what it is. So Harry,
Of course, someplace to store my phone
Oh.
and to make notes.
Oh, my goodness.
Also tips for taking pictures,
Oh.
etc.
This is a cover for our record player. It was printed in 4 individual pieces and glued together.
my gracious.
These shelf brackets for CDs were 3D printed. We've started growing mushrooms and needed an enclosure to keep them humid. So all these brackets are 3D printed, as well as this funnel.
Oh.
This is a bread slicer. It folds up very compactly, and when it unfolds, there's a slider, and you can set how thin or thick you want the bread. Here's a thin piece, and when you move it back, you get a thick piece.
Wow, look at that.
When you're done using it, it cleans up very easily and folds up so that you can save as much space as possible from our phonographs.
Unbelievable.
Great.
Yeah.
These are holders for walkie-talkies that were 3D printed and a bunch of other brackets for chargers, batteries. We've also made many brackets for our even more numerous power bars.
You're gonna put Wilmot out of business.
These are brackets for a lattice structure that we used in summer to grow cucumbers on. I'll let through the winter pretty well.
Oh.
This is a Chinese lantern printed in phase mode, which means there's just one layer of filament going around. These brackets that hold the solar panels are also 3D printed. This is a Bluetooth speaker outside horn, and this is a light up disco duck garden ornament. This is a bird feeder camper van, or a caravan for all the birds.
Yeah.
These are bird whirligigs. Their wings spin, but it wasn't a very windy day.
There it goes.
This is a steam engine whirligig and smokestack. The smoke spins in the wind. This is our favorite ornament.
I think so.
It's a piranha weather vane with a zombie walking on top.
Oh, look at that, jeez.
Like zombies.
Yeah.
These are lithophane photos. They have a light at the back, and the thinner part turns lighter, and the thicker part is the dark part. Here's one of Marilyn Monroe.
Sweet, do your hair back.
This clock wasn't loud enough, when we got it, but we thought it needed some extra work.
I've seen everything. Yeah, that wake us up. Oh,
This
you know
is
what?
a room mister. If it ever gets too dry in your room, you can put one of these in and they will watch over evil spirits and keep you moisturized.
Oh.
It is an evil spirit.
These are two pondering fellows. This is a pill container. There's a section for every day of the week. And the lid has a hole for whichever day it is, so you can easily remove those. And it screws on.
There you go.
Amazing.
Maybe I should start using one of those.
This is a 3D printed container. It's specifically designed and made to hold screws or drill bits when you're working on something, so that you can throw them in here and they're not going to fall out. However, when you want to get them out, this tray simply pulls out. It's no longer magnetic, and out come your parts. This is a pottery slab roller. It's used when you're hand building pottery. As you can see, it's turnable back and forth, and this roller at the top is controlled by these gears at the side, these screws, and that will adjust the distance of clay or the thickness of clay that you'll be cutting and using to make pottery. So, pretty straightforward machine. You can purchase them, but I actually prefer this design, and I prefer just making stuff. So, all of this is 3D printed. All the gears, etc., have been made on a 3D printer. There we go. So, there's my vacuum pinning gears over here. I have used aluminum rods because of strength, obviously. But the great thing is that unlike usual slab rollers, this one all comes apart and is extremely compact. And when you put as much stuff as I do in one place, compact is very good. So it all locks up like that. These handles clip in so that they're not going to move around. And it has a carry handle, and that's it. Instead of the usual slab rollers, which whatever the size of your surface is what the size of the machine is. This is a working model of the motor that's inside a player piano. It is all 3D printed, except of course for some of the bolts, but these valves in the front, that's just plastic on plastic. So the plastic is printed on a glass sheet, which makes it super smooth, and these are sealing just plastic on plastic. The bellows in the back are plastic with ripstop material, and of course the crankshaft at the top, once again, all 3D printed except for the shaft, but it's all being held together essentially with plastic and a few little bolts. We will run it for you now, and you can see this runs really well, has a ton of power, and I'm mesmerized by how well it came out. One of the meetings inspired me to pursue how piano players work, because I've always been interested, and when I found out how these motors work, I had to build one.
This is another steam engine. It runs on compressed air. You had to print each individual piece and make sure they all fit together.
Oh, baby pasta.
So play your piano part with going sideline.
Finally, this is another Bluetooth speaker with an inverted horn design. The little speaker goes on the side, and when we connect it up,
Hair and makeup.
Oh, very good. I am so impressed. You're a man who is never gonna have idle hands.
Man of many talents.
Yes,
Wow.
unbelievable.
Yes,
I'm curious, the part that wasn't elaborated on was the actual plastic material. Did it come in like?
the filament comes on rolls, so it would be as if it was a roll of solder, except it's plastic. And the materials you cannot possibly keep up with. I used to, and there's just too many now. The three basic was ABS, PETG, and PLA, and they all have their own qualities. But then there was the flexibles like the TPU that I used to put the pads for the little camera phones. So that's a flexible filament, but there's also carbon fiber if you want that kind of strength. And then over the last year and a half or so, it's just blown up. There are so many. So the PLA comes in a stronger version. It comes in a little bit more flexible version. Every possible color under the sun, silk finish, matte finish, variegated, everything. It's just endless. A roll of filament, I look for sales, and so when they're on sale, I get a bunch, and it kills me to pay shipping. It's just a thing. And so I order until I get past that shipping amount, which is why I have shelves and shelves and shelves of filament. But they would be, I usually pay $20 a roll, and a roll is a kilogram.
So your product, because it weighs a kilogram, that's about $20 per kilogram.
Yep.
Is there waste?
A little bit.
Not much.
A little bit. It depends how good you are with your program. Like, I mean, I have a fair bit of waste, but that's because I bet it once I see it and then change it, I throw out the first one and make another one. Because there's not that much investment in time because you're not there when it's printing, and in materials. So unlike, I also have a metal studio. Unlike metal, if you screw up a hunk of brass, you are crying because that's a lot of money. But if you screw up a couple of pounds of PLA, you're still fine. You won't cry just yet.
To print some of those, what's the length of time it takes?
Depends on the printer and depends on the finish you want. So these things are totally controllable. So as you would imagine, if you print slower, you'll get more accuracy, but then it's going to take more time. So it depends on what you want. for the motor, when I was doing the valves, I wanted to print slow and on a piece of glass, and I printed just one at a time. So the finish was nice because I really hate filing and sanding. So if I can slow it down and not have to file or sand anything, that is totally me. But if it was something that wasn't that critical, I would have printed like 10, 12 pieces all at once in one print and just have it done and done fast. But now, like my latest printers, so if I had my phone, on the latest printers, you can control them from wherever you are. So if I got my phone and clicked on it, I could see my printer, I could tell it what to do from here. Like, I don't have to even be in the same house. And I can see what it's doing, and I can tell it, you know what, I don't like that, just pause till I get home, and it does it. Yes?
Hello?
Yeah, so, maybe, if you're okay with this, I was wondering, maybe we could, the astatic cartridge I was referring to earlier, maybe we could try making a magnetic version.
I don't know anything about it, but sure, I'm willing to try anything, sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah, why don't we go to a question from someone in the Zoom meeting? Yeah.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead with your question, Lance.
Hi. I'm wondering if you have ever thought about trying lost plastic metal casting. I've only ever seen it online where people 3D print the plastic part, put it into casting sand, and then pour the metal in, and the metal then replaces the plastic part.
Yes. Yeah, lost wax. Yes, I have, because I used to do a fair bit of jewelry, and jewelers always do lost wax. And yeah, it's fairly common, works really well, and you can, there's a lot of different ways you can do it because of it being 3D printed. Where should I be looking? I think where. Okay. So because of how 3D printed works, layer by layer, one of the things you can do is print the negative part. So unlike traditional lost wax casting, where if you wanted to make a gold ring, you carve it out of wax, you put it in plaster, then you melt the wax out. But you don't actually have to do that with 3D printing, because I can print the inside of that. So if you think about a car engine, and where the valves are coming in through the casting of the engine. So that's really a feat when you're trying to mill these things down. Steam engine cylinders are horrible because it comes down, it goes across on an angle, and then into each side of the cylinder, which when you're machining, your mill isn't very comfortable going up and turning a corner and doing that. But in 3D printing, it's nothing, right? Because you're printing layer by layer. So printing multiple squiggly holes in the middle of something is nothing. It's what the printer loves to do. And so the lost wax is actually easier in 3D printing than it was in the old days where you carved the wax and put it in plaster and did that process. But yes, it works totally.
Now, you've shown us the functionality.
Mike, you talk loud for the microphone, please?
Oh, is it not coming across?
It's not really good. Talk loud.
So tell you're loud like me.
I'm just trying some hearing aids, so I can't hear my own voice in the same way. Anyway, you've got.
Yeah, it's your question. Yeah.
You've got the functionality and the creativity, but what about making a phonograph part look like an original phonograph part? How close can you get to, you showed us a reproducer, for example, but could you reproduce a reproducer?
So, this is the exhibition that we all know. And so this was 3D printed, and I specifically printed the top piece in red so that you can see it. But if I wanted to make it, that would be it.
Wow.
What would be it?
This is
Here,
the
show me, I'll
back
hold it up.
gasket.
Oh, where is it?
Wow.
So,
Wow, you made that.
So it's rubbery. It's actually rubbery.
yeah,
Wow,
it's
that's-
TPU, it's flexible.
So you can make a gasket out of this and it would be just like rubber.
Yeah, the gasket,
That's crazy.
the gasket in the Mickey is TPU, flexible.
Do you offer this stuff available for sale on your website?
No, but I will do things for people, but no, I don't need another job.
It's not a business,
It's not a business.
it's a hobby.
Okay, so would you put your contact information in the chat?
Sure. Something else before you get to another question. Janet and I got some Burmese colored needles, and one of the things that you need is a sharpener. And so I'm not getting a sharpener from England because they're super expensive, and the shipping and all of that, and that's not what I wanted this to do. So I built this, 3D printed. This is a Burmese needle sharpener, and it's kind of working, kind of isn't. But the magic with 3D printing is that I'm in contact with Andy, who sells these needles, knows a lot about them. And so once this was finished, I took the G codes and I just emailed them to him. So he, in England, can walk over to the library and have this printed. Right? No mailing back and forth, none of that. I just send him a set of G codes and he can print any part there that I've just printed here.
Can you, I've seen where you scan a part.
Yes.
So have you done that and is it accurate?
Scanning is getting better and better. It's a bit of a trick. So when you see it being done, you always see it on specific objects. So the scanning, yes, works with the caveat of what it is. So I saw one of the other clubs, somebody doing a presentation on scanning, and you could scan with your camera. You could get software and do it, or you could get elaborate scanners, or you could send it to a place and pay a whole lot of money and get it scanned. So in this presentation, what he did was he scanned sculptures outside a historic building. And that was great. You're looking at going, wow, that's really impressive. Except you have to understand that sculptors already do that work. So sculptors have already taken that face and eliminated the lines that are unnecessary and accentuated the lines that are necessary for the image. So they basically, if you look at a gargoyle or the Statue of David, that's not a copy of his face. That's the impression that you get, and that's what the sculptor does. So all the stuff the scanner is terrible at, the sculpture is already fixed. So you can scan a sculpture and it'll come out dead accurate. If you scan your face, you do not want to print it.
I believe it.
Yes.
John, I recall you telling me when we had discussions, we were talking about reproducing a tiny little gear.
Yes.
And there's a limit as to how detailed it can get. Like, for instance, could you scan the 78 and make a copy of it?
Yes, and it's been
that
done. I
detailed?
haven't done that, but people have. And it has considerable success. Like, I mean, it's not like the original, but considerable success. And that's still in filament printing. So the normal nozzle on a filament printer is 0.04 millimeter. So that's basically what you're going for. But you can go way smaller, and you could go 0.01 if you want to. And so that's the level of error that you'll get. And that's on filament printers. And I haven't covered anything about resin printers, but resin printers are another kind of 3D printing that uses liquid resin and exposes it to harden it and get the image, which is even more accurate. So if you resin printed a record, it would probably be pretty good. I haven't done it, but it would probably be pretty good because the filament ones are. So, like, I mean, it works. That technology does work.
I guess the only problem with the resin one is that you need a ventilated area. Because,
Depends how devoted to health and safety.
What would a reasonable printer that would do most things set you back?
Okay.
Or is it a series of printers you have?
The series of printers I have, it looks much more costly than it was. First of all, the first few I built, and then everybody was sort of getting into it, but there's a learning curve. And so about 4 or 5 of them were auction sales where people had tried to use it, totally screwed up the machine, but I've already built them so I can fix them, so they were fixer-uppers. And then I have some primo machines that are there because of specific things like bad size. I like to work in big. I like go big, go home. So I have a printer that prints on an area like this. But in answer to your question, I knew this would come up. $400. $400 will get you a plug-and-play printer that will do absolutely everything you want. It will connect to your phone. It will do all of that stuff, and they will come on sale, so you could get it for $250 if you aren't impatient and wait for the sales. And all the time they're developing these. So the geek market, like people like me, we're kind of done as far as the market is concerned. So the market now is being driven really by the scrapbook market. What the printing companies want is everybody to have one of these in their homes as part of their hobby. So they want everybody to be printing keychains for everybody at Christmas, and little tchotchkes for somebody's birthday, and handouts, which I did for here as well, so I'm not immune, and that sort of thing. So out of the printers, the sort of first basic, hard-working, never screwed up kind of printer was the CR10, Creality CR10, and it's still a good choice, and it would be $325, something like that. Anchor, Viper, which is the Anycubic. Viper is an excellent choice, and it runs about 400, a little bit less, probably 350. Anchor, which is a very chic printer. This is for you, Mike. When you have a chic house and you want it to be there as part of the decor, Anchor is an absolutely beautiful printer. But as hard as you work and as hard as you search, you could not buy a brand new 3D printer that isn't excellent. They just don't exist. The market is that good. The technology is even better than the market is. And so the technology is tremendously strong. The market is strong. And you couldn't buy a bad 3D printer now. Some of the old ones, yes, and the ones that catch on fire are kind of a problem, but.
Again, health and safety.
Yeah, that's good. No, I actually put MOSFETs on the ones that burn the place down, so.
Don, I think Don Mayer, do you still have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. A fascinating presentation. Just loving everything that you're showing us. About 4 or 5 years ago during COVID, for something to do, I took an online course through MIT on fabrication techniques, and part of it was on 3D printing. And they made mention of printers that will print metal. And I'm just wondering if you've had any experience with that. I'm thinking of elbows, for example, pot metal elbows on Columbia graphanolas that routinely break.
Yes, once again, the technology is superb, and I've never used 3D printer, metal 3D printer, but they're exactly the same. The only difference is temperature. So you're using a metal, something like solder that melts fairly easily at a low temperature. And if you were really rogue, I might do it with one of my older printers, you could actually start adapting your regular plastic printer to print soft metals. But the only reason I don't have one is they're still expensive. But the minute that they come down to something that I can take out of my bank account easily, I will have one. And they work exactly the same as the filament printers. There is no difference. The only difference is the temperature. So it's a bit hotter. But these things run at 260 to 80 Celsius in the head. So that's what, 700-800, something like, I can't convert that. Anybody who could convert it, but as soon as you're in 800 plus, you can melt metal. So it's really, really close. Like you're 200 degrees on these little printers, 200-300 degrees away from printing metal. And that will come down because this market is really big and really hungry for customers. And people like me have all the filament printers we're ever gonna have. So to attract my business, you're gonna have to make the metal printers viable for me to use. And they will. Like the 3D printers, when I started, a printer was $1,000. That same printer now would be 200. And so it's that kind of drop, and the drop is extremely fast because of the competition, basically. And it's all open source. It's a weird community. I don't want to get too long here, but everybody who really 3D prints is part of a community, and we all share all the information that we have, and it's all open source. So it's open to everyone, and we have a really strong contract against anybody trying to make anything proprietary, thank you. And so that does not happen in the business, and if it does, you will never sell a printer to any of us. Because there's one company who was sort of playing with this, and they got their fingers severely slapped because they lost a whole lot of sales real fast because that's not tolerated. This is a really good sharing, happy community, and we're keeping it that way.
Terrific comments. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
You are a genius and a wizard.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just one,
yes.
Have you dabbled with trying to make gramophone needles?
No, I haven't actually. Other than, of course, just cutting a piece of PLA. That I've done, and it works. It works fine. Comparable to any of that sort of thing, like the bamboo needles, and that the better you cut them, the better they work. But once I have the sharpener fixed, because like I said, I'd send these off to Andy and he'll correct all the errors that I made in it and send back whatever he says we should do, and then I'll fix it and take it from there. But once that happens, I'd like to try some carbon fiber and see what happens with carbon fiber needles, because that would be really interesting. They should last, they should sound great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You brought some.
I can't do that. I don't know who to give them to.
So Don and Sasha brought in some samples they wanted to show. They made these little gramophones.
Okay.
Oh,
We
here,
got
I'll
one
hold on
that opens easier. So actually what happened was a friend of mine, because I teach textiles most of the time, and a friend of mine was having a cleaning issue. And I said, go get washing soda, because washing soda is a great cleaning product for fabrics. So her husband went on Amazon and found that he could get big quantities of washing soda for very cheap. So he did that, except he got baking soda.
Oh.
So she ended up with many kilos of baking soda. And I said, okay, no problem. What I'll do is I'll just make fridge deodorizers and we can get rid of all this baking soda. So I did that and handed them out. Then when we were coming here today, I thought, okay, we should have phonograph deodorizers. So you fill these up with baking soda, put them in your fridge, or next to musty records. And I brought a bunch, I don't know how to select it, there's 7 of them. You're president, you have to do that.
We can do them with 50-50
Okay,
gold.
Mark made a great suggestion.
Yeah.
We can put them in the auction.
Okay.
Proceeds to the club.
Sure,
And
perfect.
I'd like to remind everybody too, was probably earlier on in the year, you made a whole display full of 45 RPM adapters, and they were all different colors, and we handed them out to the members here. It just shows really, you're only limited by your imagination.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's part of it. Part of the 3D print market is the people who are really geeky like to tinker with the machines and fix them, but they never produce anything. Then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is me, that I like tinkering with the machines, but only to an extent. I'm kind of one of those guys, if the toaster doesn't pop up fast enough, I chop the cord off and buy a new toaster. Because I hate stuff that doesn't work. For me, the real fun is doing this kind of thing, and just having the ability to say, as a lot of us in the community say, it's only broken until you print a new one.
Thank you both for coming in. And Mark, maybe are the videos something we could post online eventually?
Oh, I post all the videos.
You already,
Yeah.
so they'll be available to everyone. Oh, you've already got your hands full.
When you say online, on the CAPS website or on the Facebook CAPS website?
YouTube. Just look up Canadian Antique Phonograph Society on YouTube, and it'll be there.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, both of you. I know you put a lot of effort into that presentation. You can tell by how professional it's done. And I just enjoyed seeing, I've heard often about your garden and your workshop and everything. It's nice to see videos of it and what you can actually accomplish.
And how much stuff you could put in a little space.
Yes. And I'm wondering where you're going to put the next gramophone you buy. Yeah.
It's your house, Mike.
Anyway, so thank you both. As usual, we normally take a break for about 15 or 20 minutes. And Mike, will you be going around with the camera?
I'll go around and try and get this to work to show the people at home the items on the auction table.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
We'll be doing the 2-for-1 in a few minutes as well. So there you go.
50-50 draw, please see Don Kelly.
Yeah.